the Icebreaker Speech Marathon for the month of June and July. So, so today our newly registered members will be taking their first step, breaking the ice and continuing and starting off their Toastmasters journey. So I would like to wish everyone the best of luck. And today the marathon shall be conducted by our very own incoming Vice President Education, Toastmaster Vihangi Gamage. So now I'd like to hand over the proceedings for Toastmaster Vihangi. Toastmaster Vihangi, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rochelle. So before I start, I have a small request from everyone. If you all can switch on your videos for the meeting, that will be good for all our speakers as well, so they get a real experience. All right, thank you. A very good evening, everyone. So as Toastmaster Rochelle mentioned, we are here to see our very own Toastmasters embark on their first ever project in their Toastmasters journey. And we are really excited to see their speeches. And we have Toastmaster Lakindu, Toastmaster Thisuri, Toastmaster Ravindu, Andrea, and Vichintha, evaluated by Toastmaster Nelundi, Minoon, Shani, Manodya, and Rochelle, respectively, who will be doing the icebreaker speeches. So this will be their first ever project, as I mentioned before, and to make sure that they get to do their speeches nicely, we have a timer for today. And Toastmaster Mihiri, the floor is yours to introduce the role.
Good evening to everyone who is present here today, and I'll be your timer for the day. So today, this is an icebreaker speech marathon. So all of you will get 4 to 6 minutes, and I will be sharing the screen. So for the icebreaker speech, at 4 minutes, you can see the green light in the screen, and at 5, you can see the yellow. At 6 minutes, you can see the red light. So for the evaluations, it will take 2 to 3 minutes. The green light will be at 2 minutes, yellow at 2:30 minutes, and red light will be at 3 minutes. So I wish you all the very best for all the speakers. And I now hand over controls back to Toastmaster Vihangi. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mihiri. So Toastmaster Mihiri will be sharing her screen. As she mentioned, you can see the colors, and that will be your guide to have your speech on time. So without taking any more time, let me introduce our first speaker. To introduce our first speaker, I'd like to invite Toastmaster Nelundi, who will also be reading out the speech objectives for on behalf of all the other evaluators as well. Toastmaster Nelundi, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vihangi. So today, as for the icebreaker speech, the purpose statement is for the member to introduce himself or herself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. The timing will be 4 to 6 minutes. Toastmaster Lakindu, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Toastmaster Lakindu, the unexpected hiccups. The unexpected hiccups, Toastmaster Lakindu.
Excuse me, teacher. I think your pair of shoes doesn't match your sari, said the 3-year-old rascal to his kindergarten teacher. This mischievous kid was born on 4th of August, 1999, giving endless happy tears to the couple who were professional bankers. I was fortunate enough to grow up with my amazing sister, and I was also privileged to be the youngest and the golden child of the family. Dear Toastmasters, being named Lakindu, meaning the king to the earth, Royal College was always my dream knowledge destination. Wearing the laminated badge on the side of the pants as a junior steward, was a dream of most of the young Royalists. Representing the discipline committee of junior stewards, Mali, what's up with your hair? Is it the new trend? Oh, Mali, please tuck your shirt in, was some of my frequently used phrases to annoy the youngsters. Regardless of the responsibilities I had in my leadership roles, I never failed to enjoy my school life. Getting free food from the cafe and leaving school premises whenever I feel like was some of my added advantages as a junior steward. Talking about memories of school life, having the thought of unveiling the guitarist in me, my friend dragged me to the auditions of Western Orchestra. Surprisingly, I was selected. I trained myself day and night, and finally the day came. The auditorium of the British School Colombo was packed, and the acoustic sound of the orchestra were reflected back by the last tears of the crowd. After all performances, everyone was patiently waiting for the final results. After a long time of anticipation, the champions of all island Western music competition were announced. It was none other than the Royal College Orchestra. Fast forwarding a couple of years. After my school days, I went to Australia for vacation. I was enjoying the time of my life with my sister. Clearly, my intentions were to have fun. Then the unfortunate, unexpected hiccup occurred. The KDU decided to hold the aptitude test within just 2 days after publishing their selected applicants. Obviously, I gave my best efforts to convince my father to apply for the next intake. Response being negative, the poor adventurous soul in me had to cancel the most awaited plans that I had in my bucket list. Even though my father had to spend double the amount to advance my flight, I barely had the intention to get into KDU. However, I returned the exact morning that I had the exam. With having no time to ease my jet lag and no preparation and with no sleep, I sat for the exam and luckily got through. After a few months of listening to boring lectures, I was hoping for a stress reliever. I was dragged to the KDU Toastmasters orientation program by two of the most influential people in the club. Even though these cunning tricksters promised us to buy us treats, at the end of the day, we had to go home with empty hands and empty stomach. These so-called influencers are none other than TM Nisal and TM Mihiri. Although I had to go home empty-handed, I felt a spark in my body to improve my presenting skills. Thanks, but no thanks to these influencers. Here I'm delivering my icebreaker speech as a proud member of KDU Toastmasters. My dear friends, I'm sure all of you have similar experiences in life, which those unplanned, unexpected events turn out to be the most memorable ones. In the journey of life, it is the unplanned events which cruises our life forward and teach us valuable lessons. To mark the end of my speech, let me give you a small thought for life. Do what makes you happy. Be with the ones who make you smile. And laugh as much as you breathe. But most importantly, love as long as you live. Over to you for the Toastmaster of the day.
What an amazing speech, Toastmaster Lakindu. For an icebreaker, that is great. For a Toastmaster, you are doing great. And we are happy to have heard your icebreaker. You have been amazing. Thank you for that experience, Toastmaster Lakindu, and thank you to our membership committee for dragging him in for the orientation. And we will now move on to our next speaker, Toastmaster Thisuri, evaluated by Toastmaster Minon. Toastmaster Minon, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vihingi. Just give me a minute until I locate Toastmaster Thisuri. Okay, here she is. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up to Toastmaster Thisuri Yahampath. A few insights of my life. A few insights of my life. Toastmaster Thisuri Yahampath.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ninoon. A very good evening to my fellow Toastmasters and all the guests here. Quite often, we introduce ourselves to our teachers, to our classes. But today, I'm going to introduce myself to you. Toastmasters, I'm Thisuri Yahampath, and I'm 21 years old and still young. I have one sister who is younger to me, but she's the opposite of me, if you ever get to meet her. I studied at Sri Bandaranath Vidyalaya and I played hockey and rowing. I am a very spontaneous, strong, and if you know, you know, sleeping is my boyfriend. So, why I joined Toastmasters is because I need to improve my communication skills and I need to get over my stage fears. So, if one day, if I could at least motivate one person from anything I say during my speeches, that is one of the greatest goals I have achieved in my life. So, moving on to why I said I am spontaneous. I didn't necessarily mean that I am impulsive or I don't plan ahead. What I meant was that I am an interesting person and I do a lot of things as it crosses my mind. One day at school, that was during the sports season, there was a match going down in the ground. I really wanted to go there and I want to take all my friends so my teacher won't find that I had the period. So what I did was I took the whole class out, including all the nerds in the class. So I went and the teacher was the strict one. So after some time when we were at the ground, we saw from the class, she was looking at us like this. And of course, there were after consequences, which I'm not going to mention here. One day again, when my parents were away at Kakalama, I was at my grandma's place with my sister. I saw the chemist key. So I took it. I was not a good driver, still not, even though I have my license now. My friend took it, started it with my sister. I didn't have my license back then. Started it with my sister and my cousin brother who's younger to me, and I went. If I met with an accident that day, that would be the end of everyone who took care of us on that day. So, talking about being strong, I will have one incident I would like to share with you guys. That was in 2016. I was going to do my O-levels in December. In July or maybe September, I had my semi-finals matches. I was the defender and my other you know what happened? I didn't know. I had no other option. I didn't feel anything. I just sat down. Everybody was worried because I was putting blood out of my mouth. And everybody thought that something has happened inside my abdomen. So they took me to the hospital and I got 4 sutures here, which you can see that I have an artificial dimple because of that. So I couldn't talk for like 3 months. So on the following day, next day, evening, we had our finals. I went to my coach and asked, Coach, shall I play the finals? The pain was dreadful, but I had to take it. So I went and asked. Coach gave me a look, which I'll never forget. So I came and sat in with my water gloves. So that was about me being strong. So I had to cope up with the pain for like 3 months because I couldn't open my mouth. Like I couldn't talk, I could eat, I had to get liquid food. So moving on to why I said my boyfriend is sleeping. I am I'm a living beauty, if you know, because I can sleep anywhere, anytime, any place. I don't care who's living at me. Okay. So one day at school again, I always say, as usual, I was sleeping. My friend woke me up saying, the econ teacher came. I was the subject leader of Vichintha, and she asked me to give the marks file to her. So I went and gave her the marks file. She has asked me something. I didn't hear because I was so sleepy. I was like, I was almost standing. I was almost sleeping. So I was like this. And she asked me to open my mouth. So I was like, okay, is she asking me to open my mouth to check whether I have something in my mouth? As like we were in kindergarten to see whether I'm chewing some gum. So what I did was I opened my mouth like this. Okay. The whole class laughed. I knew something was wrong. And I said, I'm sorry, madam, I didn't hear what you said. She was like, Thisuri, I asked you to talk. I said, I'm sorry, madam, I didn't hear. And I talked according to what she asked. Luckily, I'm one of her favorite students. So I didn't get punished that day. So basically, that's about myself. I guess I introduced myself to my fellow Toastmasters in this evening. So with this, I would like to say, a new pair of shoes, Timbranda is proof that a new pair of shoes can always change a life. So take risks, be adventurous, do not regret. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster Vichintha. Aki, you're muted.
You are muted.
All right. So that was indeed an amazing speech, Toastmaster Thisuri, and you have done amazing in your icebreaker speech itself. And now we would move on to our next speaker for today. That is Toastmaster Ravindu, evaluated by Toastmaster Shani. Toastmaster Shani, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vihangi. So today I will be evaluating Toastmaster Ravindu Wijesinghe as he is embarking on his first speech in his pathway, which is dynamic leadership. With that, I would like to invite Toastmaster Ravindu Wijesinghe. Toastmaster Ravindu Wijesinghe, answering questions. Toastmaster Ravindu Wijesinghe.
Hi, can I be seen?
Yes.
Okay. Why is the sky blue and the grass green? Why does a cup not overflow when an ice cube melts? Why do birds always know how to fly north? My name is Ravindu Wijesinghe, and ever since I was a little fellow, I've always been a curious soul. My parents were fed up of me because I would always repetitively keep asking questions. But what can I say? I'm not satisfied until I get an answer. So if you want to know about the life of me, short story is, at any given point, I'm either pondering a question or searching for an answer. But if you want to know how I got to be that way, well, you need to know the backstory. And where better place to start than at the very beginning. So first, let's introduce the characters. I was born as the fourth and final member of my family. My dad is your stereotypical Sri Lankan dad. He's a career-driven doctor, and if there are any medical students here, you'll know him as your scary D. But at home, he's just your dad joke-cracking, absent-minded father. He used to read me bedtime stories when I was a kid. But I was a bit of a weird child, so I didn't like fantasy or fiction. Instead, I got him to read me encyclopedias. And that's what led to my love for reading and knowledge. And it blossomed into my book crack, which is collapsing under its own weight. Now, to talk about my mother, she's also a doctor, but wildly different from my father. She's a very artistic person, and she has drawn the most beautiful set of paintings that you will ever see. Then comes my sister, also a doctor, and you might be starting to see a trend here. But my sister is a massive pain. And by that, I don't mean change the channel when you're watching TV type pain. No, she's more of a worse type of pain, if you could say. And that's because she's an overachiever. From the time I could remember her, she's done everything perfectly. She was games captain, athletics captain, tennis captain. She got amazing A-level results, was the most outstanding student in school. And furthermore, she got 4 gold medals for her academics in medicine, which, by the way, is a record for any foreign student in Kiev. So keeping up with her has been exhausting. But if there is one bright side to that, it makes sure I can never slack off. So that's the characters. Let's move on to the prologue. So when I was a kid, we moved around quite a bit. In my 20 years of life, I've lived in 11 different homes. We left Sri Lanka when I was 2, so I don't really remember that part. But we moved to New Zealand and stayed there for 6 years, where we became citizens. Then we moved to Canada, Vancouver, for another 2 years, after finally coming back to settle down in Sri Lanka. When we came back, I was entered into Lyceum International School, Nugegoda, where I stayed till graduation. It was in school where my natural affinity for questioning things and searching for answers led me to the debating club and MUN club of Lyceum. These clubs gave me some of the best days of my life, and also made sure I could join the Sri Lanka National Pool for debating and win multiple Best Delegate awards at MUN. I also tried my luck at sports, but I realized that was better off left to my sister. Although miraculously, I did win colors for karate in school. Also during my school life, I discovered my passion and love for mathematics, which has kind of become an obsession or addiction for me these days. Now, you might call me a nerd, but I fell in love with the way that logic flowed in mathematics. And it fits the Ravindu bill perfectly, because mathematics is fundamentally answering questions. And it's due to my love of mathematics that I kind of ditched the family tradition and became an engineer instead of a doctor. And I'm standing in front of you as an engineer. So that brings us to current day. As all of you know, as like any university student, I'm swamped with work. But because I enjoy self-inflicted pain, I've also voluntarily agreed to do a research assistantship in nanotechnology. And it is tough, but it's rewarding. And hopefully all these sleepless nights are going to amount to something. Also, I'm waiting for the country to open up and be safer, so I can finally leave and resume my social life. And maybe even go back to my boarding house, where the most unique and unorthodox creatures reside. So that brings us full circle. And if any of you are curious about the questions I asked at the beginning, the sky is blue due to refraction. Grass is green due to chlorophyll. When ice melts, cups don't overflow due to the difference in density. And birds know how to fly north because of the sun, the stars, and the magnetic field of the earth. But how do I express my answers? That was a bit harder. I had to think a bit more. And I knew how to win a debate, but did I know how to win a heart? And that's when the answer came to me in the form of Toastmaster Nisa Hettiarachchi, who was like, join KDU Toastmasters Club. And that's why I'm here today. Thank you for having me. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Amazing speech, Toastmaster Ravindu. That was definitely a new approach to an icebreaker speech, and definitely worth the try that you've given Toastmasters. And I hope you get that answer to your question. So next up, we have Toastmaster Andrea, evaluated by Toastmaster Manodya. Toastmaster Manodya, over to you.
Hi, yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you. So Toastmaster Andrea will be embarking on her very first speech, the icebreaker. So I'm really glad to be her evaluator. Toastmaster Andrea, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, perfect. Toastmaster Andrea Silva. It's never too late. It's never too late. Toastmaster Andrea Silva.
Don't be afraid of changes in life. Thrive through it and never give up. Have you ever put these quotes that we've heard at least 1,000 times into practice, or are these words just words to us that we didn't take another look at? Fellow Toastmasters, I am Andrea Silva, born to Krishantha and Sandra on the 30th of November 2000, and was gifted with a clingy younger sister. For 16 years, I was this typical girl who got good grades, minds her own business, loves reading and spending time with friends. Might as well say a little boring. I wasn't the most active introvert who did all the extracurricular activities, but I was quite passionate to take part in speech competitions, Bible quizzes, and debates. My life was one hell of a boring ride. Time flew, and as expected, I was able to score 9 A's for my O-levels. Next, it was to take a big decision related to my career path. All of my friends chose either commerce or arts, but I always wanted to do maths because I only found fun in science. After being close friends for almost 16 years, I did not want to leave my friends and choose a different path. But I also knew if I just not choose science, I would be regretting it for the rest of my life. I was scared for the change that was about to happen. Probably I was depending on my friends too much. But then I asked myself, why do I always want friends to keep me entertained? Why can't I be the reason for my own happiness? From being the silent, boring introvert, I experienced the most dramatic change, becoming the exact opposite person who I used to be, and became this mischievous, goofy, talkative person that enjoys her life trying out all the crazy things possible. I wasn't paying any attention to my studies, was busy enjoying life, collecting memories, experiencing things that I never could. I was living my life and doing everything that I didn't do for the past 16 years that I've been wasting. Even though I had the best years in my life, I was literally failing the subjects. For the first 2 years of A-levels, I wasn't paying any attention to my studies at all. And I realized that I'm not going in the right path. And I knew I soon have to come to the track, otherwise I will be wasting 4 years of my life. One day, I was sitting in the hall with my mom and my sister and having this small talk about my studies. I knew I was failing and I didn't know what to do. To this day, I can remember my mom saying, "You have the capability. You can easily catch up with things and you only need to take the first step. So start now." And even my younger sister telling, "You know what? If I had your brains, I wouldn't be even doubting my capability." I think that at that time, they had faith in me. But I did not. Because I knew how much work I have actually done in the past 2 years. It was like minus 0.1%. I thought that it was impossible for me to get at least 3 C's because only God knows how I participated in the classes. So I never really bothered to study hard, but my instinct told me that I need to get my things together. So I changed my classes, took more classes to cover up the lessons that I missed, and started paying attention to my lessons during class. But I was one big clinomaniac sleepyhead. But with the small changes that I did, I saw a drastic improvement in my studies when I finally got my second term results. That is when I realized my true capability and capacity that I failed to see. But I was too late. I had only 2 months, but I gave my best. Went to A-levels with a little confidence, and boom, I felt like I got slapped right in the face. The papers were so hard, and I was praying that I don't fail any subject. After 4 months, the results were out. I was shocked, blown out of my mind, thought that there is no way that this is possible. I had 3 C's with the goodies at school. I know that 3 C's may not seem a big deal, but for me, considering the amount of studies that I did and the work I put in, that was huge for me. And even my parents were beyond surprised because I'm pretty sure they expected me to fail. The next day, under the shower, while I was processing everything that happened, I understood the true meaning behind the words "never give up." It's never too late, so don't give up. Start now and give your best, because you'll end up with at least 1 point higher than what you were going to get. And that 1 point is better than nothing. And that 1 point could even change your life. I wouldn't change anything in my life. I have no regrets because the clinomaniac sleepyhead learned the biggest lesson of her life and now following her dream degree. And I've changed to the best version of myself. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Well done, Toastmaster Andrea. You have changed for a better version of yourself, and we are glad Toastmasters is a part of it. And we hope to see more speeches from you. And we will now move on to the last speaker for today, that is Toastmaster Vichintha, evaluated by Toastmaster Rochelle. Toastmaster Rochelle, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Wijesinghe. So next up, Toastmaster Vichintha will also be embarking on his icebreaker speech. So Toastmaster Vichintha, are you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Great. Toastmaster Vichintha, the person I love the most. The person I love the most, Toastmaster Vichintha.
Well, the person I love the most is me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vichintha Jayasinghe for long and Vichi for short. So basically, when I heard that this was going to be the icebreaker challenge, I was quite happy. Firstly, because I thought it was easy, and secondly, because I thought my life was interesting. But as I was thinking about what I was going to say, I find it quite difficult rather than easy. So, to enlighten you all, let me just give you a brief introduction as to who and what I am. So basically, I'm an ungrateful, disloyal, unempathetic younger brother, and my older brother constantly wants to kill me. And trust me, I don't blame him, because I am a lot to deal with sometimes. And my parents, on the other hand, are very loving. But the issue with them is they're very concerned and are like the CID, always checking up on me to see whether I'm alive or not. And again, I can't blame them because I do get tangled up into situations that I really should not. All in all, I'm just a guy that loves his family, but I really don't like them. I'm just stuck with them, so I have to go with the flow and be happy with what I have. So to tell you the truth, my school life was a very happy one. I got into a lot of trouble and had friendships torn and got into fights. But literally, I didn't get into fights because if I did, I'd most probably come home with a leg or two missing. So just to be on the safe side, I stayed on the sidelines, but I was a great moral supporter of my friends. So yeah, but my A-levels was the most fun 2 years I had. Unlike most students who are bookworms, I usually enjoyed myself. I did a hell of a lot of extracurricular activities. I was in a number of positions in a number of clubs and did a number of days as well. And perhaps that might be reason why I screwed up my A-levels. But looking back, I feel I don't have any regrets because my last 2 years, I actually enjoyed myself, which most students who do science and maths actually can't actually enjoy. So I'm glad anyways. And it was a great privilege for me to have that amazing school life. And if I had the chance to do it all over again, I would definitely do it. So my father was a doctor, and so there was a great tendency for me to become a doctor or an engineer. And like always, I was determined and destined to prove them wrong. Instead, I followed the law stream, which no one in my family had done. So there was a hell of a lot of resentment from my family at first. But later I got them on board, but I don't think their opinion mattered to me because I do what I feel is right for me. And the choices I made was really great because if I hadn't chosen to do law, I would never have joined KDU. I would never have these amazing friends of mine, and I would never have joined this club. So up till now, I have made some good choices, and I hope to make some good choices in the future as well. So, but like any human being, I know I'm not perfect. I have my faults. And one of the weaknesses that I've noticed in me is that I can't quite shut up. And because of this, I do get into a lot of trouble on a regular basis. The thing is, I am an open book. I let other people figure out my secrets before I figure out them myself. In doing so, I think it would make my life easy, but instead it makes it much more worse. And I would just like to take this chance to say that if I do in the future say or do something that would be uncomfortable to you or offensive, I just want you to know I really don't mean the things I say or do. The issue is I have a big mouth and I can't control the words that come out of it. So feel free to punch me at those instances. No hard feelings actually. And anyways, I really like it when people show my mistakes. It encourages me to be a better human being, to be better, to do better. So I would like to ask the Toastmasters here to show my mistake without any hesitancy and show my cons rather than my pros. All in all, I'm just a confused teenager. I only know myself to a certain extent, but I don't actually know who I really am still. Like the saying goes, it's not the destination that counts, it's the journey. I have only been on my journey for 20 years, and I think I have a long way to go. So if I was given this topic 50 years from now, I know I can give you a much comprehensive and complete answer as to the question as to myself. So I hope I can do this topic 50 years from now and hope that all of you would be alive to hear me speak. As we all know, those who come first goes first, which I hope it won't be the case here. So that's me for you, and hope to see you guys all in the future. So thank you, and over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vichintha, for that interesting approach at doing an icebreaker speech. That's definitely one that we haven't heard in a while. So that concludes our icebreaker speeches for today. And now we're ready to hear the report from our timer. Toastmaster Mihiri, over to you.
So for the timings for the prepared speeches, Toastmaster Lakindu got 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Toastmaster Thisuri, 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Toastmaster Ravindu, 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Toastmaster Andrea, 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Toastmaster Vichintha, 5 minutes and 27 seconds. That's it. Over to you, Toastmaster Vihen.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mihiri, for that detailed report, and well done to all the speakers on managing your time effectively, despite this being your first speech. So now we move on to the final segment of today's speech marathon, that is the evaluation segment. So first up is Toastmaster Nerundi evaluating Toastmaster Lakindu Kolamunna. Toastmaster Nerundi, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vihengi. Toastmaster Lakindu. What a great speech. Your first icebreaker speech was amazing. So to give off my report, first I would like to say the purpose statement, which is introducing yourself to the club, was very well achieved. We got to know who you are, the basics, the schools, the skills, what you are currently doing, and you're passionate for public speaking. We got to know the basics. So well done on that. And the next point I would like to emphasize is one of your key points that I noticed is your great use of language. You were a word wizard throughout the whole speech. You had amazing word use like golden child, younger child, golden child, the rascals, adventurous, like many very nice, catchy, like simple words, but which added color to your speech. And the next plus point that I noticed is the humor that you used was very related to this audience. So all of us related to your story, like the part where you said about the influences about Nisal and Mihiri, like dragging you to the dragging you to Toastmasters, that part, it was very relatable to us because most of us here, we come to Toastmasters with a friend and we get into it. So I can see that in most of the speeches, Toastmaster Nisal was mentioned. She did his job as the VPM even before he was appointed. Right. So all in all, it was a great speech, but to take your speech to the next level, what I would recommend is working on your voice variations. You had conversations going on. For an example, when you said, Malli, can you tuck your shirt? You could have grabbed the attention of the audience by emphasizing the word Malli. You can increase the sound of the voice, because normally prefects don't go and say, Malli, can you tuck your shirt? You give that attitude. So emphasize the words when you're giving out, delivering your conversations that happen. And the other one is stage movements. You had stage movements, but when you were more concentrated on giving your speech, the movements weren't smooth. So I would recommend you to first structure your speech into 3 separate sections and structure the screen to 3 separate parts: middle, right and left, and start from the middle, go to right, left, and end in the middle. Like when you practice, structure it so that the stage movements will be smooth. And the last point is, when you said the ending, you said to mark the end of my speech, and you said your quote. I would recommend not to say to mark the end of my speech, because that disturbs the flow of the speech. We don't say, okay, now I'm going to start the speech like that. Don't say I'm going to mark the end. I would recommend for you to say, just end the speech with the beautiful chord that you use, because normally when you use a chord, we know that, okay, he has come to the end and he's giving out a message. So all in all, it was a great speech. Your purpose was covered, great use of language, great humor, work on voice variations, stage movements, and when you're structuring the speech, be concerned about the facts that I mentioned. It was a great speech, amazing. I hoping to see more great speeches from you. Well done, Toastmaster Lakindu. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nelundi.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nirundi, for that wonderful evaluation. You gave us all something to learn today. And now we move on to the next evaluation by Toastmaster Minon. She'll be evaluating Toastmaster Thisuri. Toastmaster Minon, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Wijesinghe. Let me first get Toastmaster Thisuri. Okay, here you are. All right. So Toastmaster Thisuri, for your first speech, I have to admit you actually did a really good job. That is to say, I found your speech really interesting. So for that, let me talk about what I actually found interesting in your speech for the very first time. So starting off, you said that you wanted to introduce yourself to us, to the audience. So you started off by including your audience in the speech. That way, all of us really did feel involved in your speech from the very beginning. And then you very concisely and clearly introduced yourself, your school, your siblings. It was very clear, short and sweet. Then this is what I find to be the best twist in your speech. It was really interesting. This is what made your speech really interesting. You described 3 qualities you have as spontaneous, strong, and also somebody who loves to sleep, which is something that is really close to me as well, because I love to sleep too. So that was actually a very nice twist to your speech, because you actually introduced yourself, then you introduced some of your qualities as well. So that was a really nice twist to your speech. Afterwards, I also did notice certain subtle uses of humor, like the way you opened your mouth when your teacher asked you to open your mouth. So that was a very nice way of putting in humor. And your conclusion. So the conclusion was a quotation which was about being adventurous. And I felt that you had picked that quotation, which is very close to you as well, since you are also you do have a tendency to be an adventurous person. So you concluded with an ending that was close to your heart as well. So with that, you connected it to yourself and you brought things full circle. So I think those are the main parts which I find in your speech to be interesting. And then there are certain things which we can work on as well. So to begin with, your stage usage. What I found was you were moving in the same place for some time, so we can work on that. Then voice variation. So some areas were a bit rushed. And also another improvement we can make is When it comes to conversations, you could have used, for an example with your teacher, you could have used a bit of a stern voice when your teacher said, Thisuri, get up, open your mouth, when she thought that you eat chewing gum, right? So we can, that way you can add in voice variation as well. And lastly, hand gestures. So I found that you did try to use hand gestures, which I think is really good for your first attempt. Well done on that as well. But there were certain areas in which, in terms of hand gestures also, where we could improve on. Those are the areas where I think you should improve yourself on. But apart from which, really nice way of doing your speech. You added a really nice twist in talking about yourself, subtle uses of humor, but there are certain areas we need to work on. And as your mentor, I think you did a really good job, and I'm really proud of this first speech. Well done. And I congratulate you on completing this speech, and all the best for your future speeches as well. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vinod, for that wonderful evaluation. And now we move on to the third evaluation by Toastmaster Shani, evaluating Toastmaster Ravindu. Toastmaster Shani, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Wijesinghe. Toastmaster Ravindu, answering question. I guess even my biggest question at the moment is when we'll be able to have our social life back. So to start off with, I would like to say you were able to execute an amazing speech. So you were able to first fulfill the objectives. That is, you were able to introduce yourself, and also you were able to bring about the basic structure of the speech. That is, introduction, the body, and the ending. So well done on that. Then I would like to say, you started off with questions that you had in mind about how birds flew to the north and questions like that. And you were able to grab the attention of the audience as well. So we are here after 2 speeches, a bit bored, but then, you know, with those questions, you know, you were able to bring about the energy, and, you know, we were able to concentrate on you. So well done on that. Then I would like to say your wordplay was beautiful. So there was one section that I would like to refer, that is, you were describing your mother, and then you used the word wildly different. You were comparing your father and your mother, and that was very effective. And I felt, you know, it was really nice to hear words like that coming out. So well done. Then you were able to bring about the characters. You said even though you were the 4th in the family, you brought about a father, mother, and your sister, which is 3 different characters with different characteristics as well. So that was also very clever, the way you brought them up. Then something that I would like to highlight is you brought, like, I know now we are living in a very tensed environment, but you brought out positivity. So one thing that I would like to say is you said how your urge of questioning brought you into debating and MUN at school. You know, this is something that we can learn from. Then also you said about your research, becoming a research assistant. You said it's difficult, but then it's very that you like the content, and you know how you would like to pursue a career like such. Then finally, I would like to highlight about you being able to, you know, present your speech by standing up, which is as your first speech, you're very confident. So well done on that. Then something that we can maybe improve from the next speech onwards is positioning. So what I would like to recommend is, before the evaluator invites you on stage, make sure that you have positioned yourself and you're ready to deliver your speech, so it would look more professional. Then meaningful gestures. So I like I told you before, you bringing 3 characters of your family was excellent, but what you could have done was maybe, you know, segmented your area and described the 3 different characters. That is for an example. Then the pace. I know you're a very excellent debater, but sometimes I think with technology issues as well, I felt as if you're, you know, saying your words at a very higher speed, and I couldn't follow up each and every single word. So it would be better if you could, you know, slow down, take a deep breath in, and then say it in a nice manner. Then to challenge yourself, I would like to say, it would have been better if you reduced the content about your parents and spoke more about you. Because I felt there was something missing. You should have brought something into the speech as well. Then, as I said before, divide the stage and speak, and also use dialogues. By using dialogues, you make sure that the audience is also with you, to bring on interaction. So with that, I would like to sum up. So there were a lot of positive things. You were very confident, starting off with questions, the characters, positivity, standing up, then to maybe to challenge yourself, positioning, meaningful gestures, reduce the content about the parents, and divide the stage, and also use dialogues. With that, I would like to see more speeches coming from you and hope to see you competing at our competitions as well. With that, I would like to hand over the controls back to Wijengi.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shani, for that evaluation. And yes, definitely, we would love all of you to be contestants at our upcoming contest in October. So next up is Toastmaster Manodya evaluating Toastmaster Andrea. Toastmaster Manodya, over to you.
Thank you, Wijengi. Let me see Toastmaster Andrea. She's there. Everything starts from something, and something would be nothing. Toastmaster Andrea, what a great speech for an icebreaker. I should say that I really enjoy your speech because you just took ourselves as audience on a very nice journey of your life. Starting from you said your life was boring, and about your O-levels, and in A-levels you have to choose between your friends or your career. But somehow you choose your career. And there were dialogues in your speech that really kept our attention to your speech. For example, when you were not feeling well, but your mom said, you have the capability, you have the capacity. And in your sister, you just used two tones to emphasize, okay, this is mom and this is sister. That was really a professional manner of saying speech. And a nice use of language. When you were doing A-levels for the first try, you said slapped right at the face. So those are really nice qualities of your speech that can bring to the next level. And finally, facial expressions. You not only spoke to us with your words, but with your face, because in the first try, when you are expressing your thoughts on the very first try, we saw how it felt like when your paper was so hard. You were praying, so you were showing your hands like you're praying. So those are really good qualities. Finally, there was a take-home message that it's never too late. Take the first step. 1 point is better than nothing. So those are really good characteristics of your speech that really kept the audience inspiring as well as their attention. So let me tell something that you could improve yourself. If you could add a more bit about yourself, like what are your hobbies, or perhaps some real life events that happen. So it would be very nice and to introduce yourself more, because since this is icebreaker, we want to get to know about yourself. And finally, if you can add more humor to your speech, adding humor, those are really good characteristics. Those are really good techniques that you can include in your upcoming competitions as well. So your dialogues, it was really good. Your language, excellent. Facial expressions and the take-home message were there. And if you could talk about yourself, about real life events that happened during your lifetime, it would be perfect. And it's really nice to have a little humor in your speech. And on, it was a fantastic job, and all the very best for your upcoming speeches.
Thank you, TM.
Thank you, Toastmaster Manod, for that evaluation. Next up, we have Toastmaster Rochelle evaluating Toastmaster Vichintha. Toastmaster Rochelle, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Wijengi. So, Toastmaster Vichintha, I'm pretty sure every one of y'all will agree that a good humorous speech competitor is coming up in our club. So, starting off, you had a great start. I mean, it was pretty interesting from the way you started, and then moving on to the humor. That move on, the transition you did, that was amazing. I truly loved your humor. It was really interesting. You used some amazing phrases like, you know, if you would you used amazing sentences like, you don't know if your parents are wondering if you're alive or not, and your sister wants to kill you. So like that, you used amazing sentences which obviously made us, we could imagine what the situation is actually. So that was amazing. And also, even though you were using humor to some extent, you also managed somehow to put in about yourself as well. For example, how you were not a person who was, you're not a bookworm. You also did all these club activities, sports, and all that. In the middle of all this humor, you also included that very nicely and tactfully. And also, you had amazing vocabulary, like I said. Along with the humor, you also use some specific phrases like, you know, big mouth, punch me, then got them on the board, and stuff like that, words like that. I love those words. It was so nice of you to use them. And also, your speech from the start to the end, I was so attentive. It was very interesting. I'm pretty sure everyone will agree with me. It was very interesting. You grabbed the attention and made sure you kept the attention of the audience throughout your speech. And also with the humor, something that I noticed was how you told us to show if something is wrong. So it was really humble. That part was really humble when you said others that you're not perfect, you have your flaws, and so for you to show, for others to show you. So these were some points that you excelled at. Now let me move on to some parts that you can actually improve yourself on. So first of all, I'd like you to do your speeches standing. You were basically sitting and doing, and also I even saw that you were using some hand gestures. So, but it was not visible because of the positioning that you were in. So I would recommend you to stand up, use the stage. I mean, with your content, with the humor you use, I'm pretty sure you can use the stage. You can use the space very effectively. And also the vocal variations as well. I would like to point out that because with your humor, these vocal variations can be the best technique to put out the humor. Even though you were successful in giving us the humor, I'm pretty sure if we use the vocal variations, like when someone is telling you something, you can, you know, act it out with your vocal variation. So that would be great. And all in all, also the flow and structure, I would like to emphasize on that because I kind of felt like the structure was over the place. So if you can actually focus and make a proper structure and structure your speech properly, I think that would also be great. So overall, I'm pretty sure every one of you got to know who you are, your attitudes, and your humor, all of it. And also excellent humor. I loved your humor. I'm absolutely impressed with your speech, and points to improve on. It would be great if you can actually use the stage a bit more, vocal variations and your hand gestures, because with the content that you create through your speeches, I think that would be a great opportunity for you. And with that, I'd like you to wish all the very best of luck for your future speeches. And I'm waiting to see your speeches because it's amazingly interesting. And good job again.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rochelle.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rochelle, for that wonderful evaluation. So with that, we have come to the end of our speech marathon. So first of all, I would like to congratulate all our speakers who broke the ice today. You all definitely did a great job. And as our evaluators mentioned, we have seen some of your speeches. Your speeches are very at a very higher level than one would expect, you know, for someone who is starting off. But you all did great. You all did amazing. We expect, or we hope that most of you at least would participate in our upcoming contests in October as well. So we would love to hear more from you guys, and I would like to thank all our speakers, our evaluators, and our role players today, and as well as all our participants for becoming a part of this speech marathon and making it a success. So before we end the marathon, I would like to request everyone to switch on your cameras and take a picture to mark this occasion.
Excuse me, Toastmaster Vihangi. Can I take a moment? Because I think we have a lot of new members today. I think we can introduce them as well. So I'm pretty sure Nisali is doing an amazing job. So today I think we have how many new members? I think we have around 5 or so. I would like to have a small introduction from you about yourself. Let me get the names. We have Mitara. Can you switch on your video and give a small introduction, a brief introduction, what your name is, what your faculty and your